Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another stream with Swaggle. And in this stream, we got something special we got to talk about here. We got kind of an impromptu, important stream to have tonight here on the show. You know, it wasn't something I was planning on doing, but a recent comic book crime situation has occurred out there in the community, and I thought it was important to bring some awareness to it. You know, having been someone who has suffered some comic book crimes themselves, and having the channel, I feel like, hey, you know, maybe this can be a thing. Like maybe we can, anytime some of this stuff happens, we can kind of rally some troops and have some conversations about it and bring some awareness out there. Because I think rallying the comic community for some of these things is super important, and actually, you know, might actually be able to help the people out there that had some of these things happen. So we got to talk a little bit about this, and maybe, you know, broaden out the conversations later on to just talk about, you know, theft in comic books right now, which I don't know about you guys, but it feels like it's been happening a little bit more recently. And it could be like kind of the situation we're in, you know, economic times, things are sort of tough or getting tough for a lot of people out there. So a lot of this stuff is starting to pop up, and we might talk a little bit about, you know, what you can do about it. You know, are there solutions? Are there things you can do to kind of prevent some of this stuff? I have a couple guests in the house that might be able to kind of weigh in on this. Certainly they can weigh in on this. They definitely have good thoughts. We got Drew from Coma Comic Books now making his 18th appearance. You know, by this point, everyone has fallen off his comic book series. No one's buying it anymore because, you know, 18 appearances in, nobody cares. I also probably looks like I got a special guest here. You know, Chris, Vancouver Comic Junkie. He might have some good stuff to talk about as far as like protecting his comics and stuff. Good to hear what he has to say about that. But before I bring them on, let's just check in with a chat here. Say what's up to some people. We got Mike Oxlong in the chat with the burger. Jordan C. Bond in the chat with the pizza. And then William Munn in the chat with the ready. Obviously, William didn't catch on to the game of showing whatever they were eating for dinner tonight. But it's good to see all you guys. Thanks so much for stopping in. Comic Journey, you definitely should make a videos advising on comic book and collectible insurance. Thefts happen all the time. Yeah, when I was on Comic Journey's channel talking to him about some stuff, he did say I should do some of this. And, you know, I'd be happy to sort of maybe bring on some experts and do some interviews about it, because, like, you know, I'm not an expert myself, so I can only speak to it to a certain level. Which is why, you know, bringing on Drew and even Chris, I bet has good thoughts about this stuff, which, you know, be good to hear their perspectives of what they do or what your options are in these situations. For Pete's sake, or Sake in the house. What's going on, man? Good to see you. We got Eggplant Comics in the house. This boy's got swag. Thank you, sir. We got Carnival Hands in the house. I can't believe I made 2 streams in a row. Yeah, I can't believe it either. I can't believe I've had 2 streams in a row. Not very common here on the channel, but it's been very busy. You know, didn't have videos the last few days, so I decided to do some live streams because I had to do some of the Kickstarter stuff. You know, some of the Kickstarter stuff. A couple other people here. What's going on, Brandon? Flex Eponymous. A bunch of other people here in the chat, but it's good to see everybody. I really appreciate you guys stopping in. Other little housekeeping before we really get into the story. Of course, I got to talk a little bit about some of the news going on my channel, which is that I created a comic book, guys. I wrote a comic book. I launched the Kickstarter yesterday, and I'm thrilled to say, you know, we actually met our goal in just one day. I'm actually really, really blown away by this. And it's super, super exciting. If you guys haven't been able to check it out, I put a link in the description. Wrote a comic book, Lovecraftian, you know, pulp adventure detective story, you know, throwback to sort of the golden age style of comic books and things of that nature. But yeah, if you want to take a look at it and see what it's all about and maybe give it a shot, it would definitely mean a lot to me if you decide to kind of back it. I'm super, super proud of it. I got the link in the description, but yeah, check it out. If you guys are into that sort of thing, it would definitely support me, and I would really appreciate that. But not to make it all about me, because it's not all about me tonight. It's about some of the people in the comic book community, and let's bring some people in the comic book community on right now to the stage, making his 20,000th appearance on the channel here. We got Drew from Coma's Comic Books. What's going on, Drew?
I can't count that high, man. I run out of fingers and toes.
No more fingers. Yeah.
I feel like at this point, I'm just guy on the couch. Like, did you ever watch Half Baked? Like,
What's
nobody
that?
really.
Yeah, of course.
Nobody knows who he is. He's just there all the time. So I feel like I've hit that status at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, another special guest. We got Chris Vancouver Comics Journey. What's going on, Chris? Good to see you, man.
Hey guys, it's great to be here. I haven't been on a YouTube stream in like 4 months.
Yeah,
you had some excitement there, man. Yeah,
you've
been a little bit. Yeah.
You know, I don't think we can talk about what Chris is busy on, but I'm sure everybody would like to know what he's been busy on. That's for sure.
Actually, yeah, you really would. Yeah, it's
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, well, gentlemen, thanks so much for hopping on the stream. I thought it was kind of important to talk about this because I don't know. I felt really bad. We, if you guys don't know, I mean, Chris and Drew and we all talk on DM like every single day, pretty much. And Ryan had brought up that one of his somebody who had bought a book from him had reached out to him, this Avengers 4.0, and told him, was like, hey man, just want to let you know, my house got broken into, and all of my comic books were stolen. And like, Ryan gave me this information. Of course, Ryan is Automatic Comics. I'm sure you guys know him as well. But he basically was like, kind of upwards of around $70,000, I think is what Ryan actually said. So we had a breaking and entering. And, when this info got put out, this Instagram post is what Ryan had. And I kind of said like, hey, maybe we can get the word out, talk a little bit about this, rally some people in the community, because you never know. I mean, the thing about stolen comic books is they're going to want to sell them somewhere. So getting people's attention and eyes on it, I think can really, really help. So this is the post that Ryan had. Obviously, it's an Avengers 1 is one of the comics that was stolen. A very, very distinct scribble here in the A, which I think is pretty unmistakable. Like, even if the guy decided to crack this out of the slab and sell it raw, like that's a pretty noticeable flaw right there. And I guess this guy's in the Atlanta area. So if you're out there and you happen to be in the Atlanta area and you know the shops, you buy comics somewhere in Georgia, try to keep an eye on this. Some of the other comics that he had posted right here, Superman 3, not something you see every day. This was another one. Ryan shared this, what the guy had sent to him as far as like the inventory that got stolen. This is another one, pretty distinct, like stain right here on the staple. So this is one where it's like, I mean, if you're a shop owner in Atlanta, or you like, sell comics, or you're on OfferUp or you're on Craigslist, and all of a sudden you see a Superman 3, let Ryan know. The post is in the description. But what do you guys think? Drew, Chris, what do you think about some of these stolen comics? Well, and feeling kind of way we heard this news?
I know you've been through a bit of a hassle with this as well. But I'm going to say something that's probably not going to be super popular, but at the end of the day, because we're doing business here, I mean, we have to agree it's somewhat of a business. You're going to take a percentage of a hit out of that. And you can protect yourself all you want, but scumbags are always going to get you at some point. True. And I hate to admit it that way, but it's kind of just every year you're going to get a little. I haven't had one in a long time, but I've been very fortunate. But it does just fucking happen.
Yeah, so 100%.
Yeah, it's a numbers game. I mean, the more you expose yourself to buying, selling, the more likely you are to run into something like that. And it's not a new problem. People have been stealing comics for as long as people have been collecting comics. It's just now we're a little bit more connected as a community than we used to be. So now it seems like it's a more rampant problem. Right. Just because the word gets out. But yeah, I was looking through the stuff when, Ryan was telling us about it. And the first thing that just came to mind is like, particularly if you have a substantial graded collection, the first thing you do when you get that new slab in, you've got to catalog it, right? You've got to get that serial number down, pictures, and social media helps with that, right? Because we all want to do that social media flex and show off our new arrival. But It's just, there was a lot of things, I'm sure we're going to get into it, that just kind of hit me as we were discussing it, and as it was kind of coming to our attention, that I think we can share with everybody, and hopefully help them be in a better situation that it looks like this unfortunate collector is in right now.
Drew, you do you're a dealer as well, and have a table. And do you find at conventions there's a lot of theft?
I mean, I've got a really good buddy who had an AF-15 stolen off his wall back before the pandemic. I mean, even at the time, I think it was like a $45,000 or a $60,000 book. And yeah, I mean, that's a hit. So it's definitely not unheard of. And a lot of times, you know, the vendors are kind of like, I don't know, like, you ever been out in the woods and a hawk flies by and you're sitting around a bunch of blue jays and they just all start screaming? You know, it's a nature reference here if anybody's been outside before. You know, that's kind of like what vendors are. It's like, you know, watch that guy, he's shady, or, you know, screw this guy. Or I've actually seen other vendors that will just start following shady people around who act like they've been stealing stuff or whatever. And we're not a shy group, the dealers in the comic circuit. So if we think there's ruffians about, we're going to make sure they know that we know that they know that we know.
Yeah. It really is like kind of that community mentality. It's like, it reminds me of, like, you know, when somebody say like two fighters or something are in a boxing ring or a UFC event or whatever, if all of a sudden like a fan jumps in, like, you know, everyone is same thing with comics. It's like, anyone who gets caught stealing, it's like all the vendors.
Well, Mickey, remember when you went through your troubles last year? And my God, it was so impressive seeing everyone just dive in together to try and help you in your situation as well.
No, for sure. I mean, I was like super lucky. I mean, and I'm lucky because I was able to have a YouTube and put it out there, which is part of the reason why I feel like when I see stuff like this, I feel like I need to pay that forward.
Yeah.
So it's like, I can at least, you know, 90 people in the chat bring a little bit of awareness back to some of the people that it's happening to. Because I know what it is. Like, you know, the guy is probably, you know, putting in the police report, says, you know, goes down to the police station, talks to a detective, that whole thing. And I've had that experience, and it's like, you know, maybe, I mean, I'm not going to say that the detective is not going to work on it, but like, you know, when you have to solve a murder case and you got to solve some stolen comics, like the priority is just not as high. So the least we can do is get the word out. And so that's why it's like, if you know anyone in the Atlanta area, you know, or I guess I would push it even so far as to Georgia. At that point, you see like a Superman 3 like this getting sold, you know, especially if it's on like an OfferUp or a Craigslist or you know, all of a sudden you see it, I don't know, Facebook Marketplace or something.
Yeah. But also too, you should remind yourself that there's a reason they're criminals. Some are very smart, of course, but like the majority are very lazy. That's why they're stealing.
Totally.
So I have a little story. I know somebody who had a box of Super Premier Silver Age keys stolen around 2001.
Ouch.
And he literally went to the closest pawn shop and found them there. And they were just there. Like not even 40 minutes later. That blew my mind. Like this is 25 years ago. There was still $100,000 in books there then. So
holy crap.
Yeah. And I think the guy paid about $100 for the box. So,
oh my God.
Yeah.
That's so crazy. Cause that's the other thing too, is like, you know, people, we were talking, and it's like, you know, what seems like it would be the logical thing to do would be like, you know, if someone stole it out there, they'd crack open, you know, all of the slabs, and you would get what you can with it for the raw books. But like you said, Chris, I think people are lazy. Like my books were the same thing. You know, it's like mine were stolen, and I would have for sure thought that like the guy would at least crack them out. But if they can do it with speed, you know, like my guy stole it and then it was like flipped it the next day. So that's why it's like.
But do you know what's more cool than stolen comic books for these guys? Like crack. You know?
Yeah, that's true.
Like that's what they really want.
Paying off their bookies so to keep their kneecaps, stuff like
absolutely.
that.
Yeah.
So, you know, not that we're like doing a like a tip video or a top 5 tips what to do, but definitely, Drew, what you're saying, if we were going to do that, I mean, even if a criminal does crack it out, I do think the first thing you do, you know, especially if you start to like buy some expensive stuff, if you have some great comic books, like take a picture, get that cert written down, put it in a spreadsheet somewhere. So at least you have that, right? Because at least you can identify.
Yeah, I mean that's just step one. I mean, it'll help you as far as accessing graders notes and just you know, even insurance records, probably more than anything. But I just think that, and if you can do it in the cloud, like if you drop it in your Dropbox, you have it on your Google Drive, just anything. So like if your house burns down or something and all this stuff is in there, you still have all that reference information that you can take to your insurance provider
Right.
in that particular case. But it's just, they make it so easy. I mean, literally their individual serial numbers for comics, when they're slabbed like that, it's a disservice to yourself to not take it the moment that it takes to catalog that and just to keep that information someplace safe. So I think that's like step number one. Step two, take a picture and share it, you know, be like, look what I got.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, anything else? Like, so, I mean, he had it in his home. Hopefully, you know, homeowners theft insurance can cover some of this, but you know, it's not so easy. It's not like a, you know,
it's a little tricky.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a thing, and maybe you get equal value, maybe you don't. But Drew, like, what kind of precautions are you taking right now? I mean, like, and I asked that knowing what you do, but I'm trying to get you to say, like, you know.
So for a long time, I've had a security system. And Mrs. Como, you know, like when I'm on the road and stuff, she likes to have that secure feeling. So we have a 3-story house and there's a sensor on every door and every window in this house. So she's like, I don't care that it's a 25-foot drop out of this window, you know, on the backside of our house. I want a sensor on it. So that when I look and I see that little green light, I know everything's shut and, you know, we're good. We've recently expanded to adding security cameras, and I mean, my collection's not as big as some people's. I've generally tried to be more of like a quality over a quantity collector, but still there's, you know, there's some stuff here. So as that started to grow, one of the things I did is I kind of set a dollar amount, and anything that exceeded that FMV, it's just like, okay, this isn't going to stay here. This is going to go to the bank, which is why I have multiple safety deposit boxes full of, you know, 4-color collectibles, as we speak. And, you know, I've been on waiting lists for years trying to get even larger safety deposit boxes. So ultimately, I think my goal is to get one of those ones that's like an actual, has like its own handle and like locking mechanism where I can slide maybe a couple of short boxes or a couple of mag boxes in there. I feel like I'll have arrived at that point. But, you know, that's kind of the basic things, I think, is to just, you know, do what you can. Not everybody can afford a security system, but, you know, the way things are now, it's not that expensive to have cameras put in at your house. Just anything that can give you peace of mind and also at the same time act as a deterrent to any would-be potential criminal, I think is a good way to go. But I can also go into like some best practices beyond, you know, just security and like actual infrastructure things, if you want to get into that, or if you want to circle back around to that.
Well, yeah, I definitely want to circle back to that, but maybe check Chris, like, what do you do? Do you have, because with a lot of your stuff, like, are you, and I can bounce this back up to you too, Drew, like, because obviously, okay, you got the big expensive stuff in the security deposit, but then are you like, for your inventory that you're going to shows with, are you just locking it in your whatever garage or whatever, and that stays in your house? Or like, how do you like manage all this stuff? But Chris, maybe.
Yeah, hop in there, Chris.
So I do a couple things. I never allow anyone to know my address. That's a big thing for me. We had trouble about 15 or 20 years ago with someone showed up at our house once who was pretty kooky over, we don't even know. It was like an insane person, basically. Ever since then, I've been fairly nervous about that. So when people get my address, it's my office address. It's not my address. And that's that. So I don't keep anything there. And then at top of it, there's a place in my city in Vancouver, Canada, where, and I'm sure they're everywhere, you can store legal documents. And it's, in my opinion, better than you get it going to the bank and getting a safety deposit box. It's fireproof. It's secure as fuck. Like they have security there. It's incredible. And I can get a lot bigger space for the stuff I need than I can at a bank. Prices might be different here. I don't know, but they're quite pricey up here in Canada for the bank. But that's what I've been doing, and I keep about 200 books there, maybe 150 books there. But another thing, and I don't really talk about this a lot, but I just don't post really high dollar items at all. Right. I find when I do that, locally, people just seem to know everything about me. And I know that seems a little strange, but because I do like showing off, my IG, I show off a lot of stuff. But when I get a real big one, I get real nervous for some reason. So I just don't want someone kicking my door in, one day.
No, it makes sense. I mean, even backstage before Chris, you hopped on, Drew, you were kind of saying that as well, where it's like, it kind of is like comes with the territory, and it's kind of a sad reality, but like sometimes you just don't let anyone know you have anything.
Yeah. And just plausible deniability, right? If you don't ever send it out there into the universe saying you have it, who knows you have it? And they've got to know that the juice is worth the squeeze. If they're going to potentially go to prison for breaking into your house, they've got to know that there's something in there worth risking that. So if you keep that stuff, close to the vest, it helps. But it also, it kind of sucks because it's a social hobby, and you want to be able to share with people, look what I found. You want to be able to congratulate your friends and people in your circle for finding things like that, which, plays directly against this. And then also, when you find something like that, you find good stuff and just stuff you enjoy, you want to be able to enjoy it. You want to put 3 8-foot long shelves behind you and sit there in front of them all day and just look at all your treasures. Oh, weird. Oh, yeah. Sorry about that.
But I gotta say, Drew, that what you just said is it kills me about the books that I don't have at home. Like
me too.
It makes me consider, like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Like I could just look at it online. Like it's ridiculous.
And that's something we were actually touched on before we hopped on. It's like, I'll go to the bank every couple months and just take 30, 45 minutes and pull out my safety deposit boxes and sit there and, hey, these are mine. That's great. Then I put them back in the box and they hide in the dark and I don't see them again for a few months.
Yeah. I'll have to retell the joke. It was like, I was saying, it's like that scene in Breaking Bad. If you've seen like Bill Burr, when he just goes into the deposit with a stack of cash and he just lays on top of it and just goes, that's true. Once a month.
But yeah, no, I mean, it kills me. Like my AF-15's in there. It's like, I love Spider-Man, and I don't get to see my AF-15 actually owning one more than somebody who really doesn't even have one and would just like to have one. I mean, hell, you can go to a show and look at an AF-15 fairly regularly around here, and it's like people that do that probably hold an AF-15 more than I do, and I own one.
Yeah.
I have a bit of comic book art, like just different pages, but some of everything's crazy now, but some have been exploded in value in the last like 3 years. And it kills me that I can't have them framed on a wall. They're at that point now where it'd be insane to have them on the wall. Yeah. And because I can't afford, like, Mossad agents outside my house at that point, it's I almost feel like I need it. So, but it is what it is.
It's pretty. Go ahead, Drew.
I just want to reference Reef the Sea there made a comment about gun safe works.
Oh, yeah.
And one thing I just want to caution everybody about, gun safes, particularly gun safes that are fireproof for X amount of time, are treated with chemicals, and the fire retardant chemicals can have extremely negative impacts on paper products, specifically cheaply made, mass-produced comic books. And another thing you want to be careful with when you do lock comics in a safe, even if it's not a fire retardant safe, so you don't have to worry about the chemical stuff, is moisture getting trapped in there. And whether you've got guns in there or anything that can tarnish or rust or comic books, you've got to be sure to open those things up or come up with some sort of a moisture management system for that, because I've seen, I believe it's actually referenced in either the Overstreet grading guide or in an actual price guide at one point, an example of a guy who, or girl, whoever, had an extremely high grade collection of Bronze Age comics, but they kept them in a safe and they never opened it, and it drew moisture, and the staples, they no longer exist. They are now one with the paper. They literally physically melted into the book just from being stored in a closed up safe so long. So,
wasn't that on the CGC forums as well? I remember a while ago there was some guy who was just losing it over that.
Yeah, I would assume that it's not an uncommon tale, especially for, like old-timey folks who may have been hiding their treasure for a long time but failed to consider moisture concerns. I mean, hell, I've got great examples of it right now. There's I think, Mickey, I've told you some about this, but there's this crazy comic collection that popped up just before Christmas here in Columbia, and these comics were stored in old metal footlockers, and it looks like they've been out in a garage in Missouri, like a non-climate controlled garage, for 40 to 50 years. And I shit you guys not, I held a copy of Werewolf by Night 2 that looked like it just came from the printer, but the book right next to that, the staples were half melted into the book. Just horrible rust migration. Just they got, and they were all like musty smelling. It's just that moisture, if you're not taking care of it, you're not letting the books out to breathe or otherwise mitigating the accumulation of moisture. I mean, there are climates this doesn't happen. If you're in Colorado or out where Mickey is in California, you don't have a lot of residual moisture issues. But if you're anywhere in the Southeast or, up by the Great Lakes where you get a lot of moisture in the air on the regular, it's something you got to take care of and really think about.
Right.
Do you know what's interesting? There's a local collection. It's not really much of a collection, but it was about 200 books, and they were all Silver Age keys, like only keys. And I guess they were found in like some old trailer out in the mountains, like near Vancouver. And like literally, like when you pulled them out of the wrapping paper they were in, because they were wrapped in wax paper, which made me think it must have been a collector. These things smelt so bad, like the whole room had to be fumigated almost. It was so bad. But like these were like, Fantastic Four #1, X-Men #1. These are books you'd want to own, but my God, they were horrifyingly stinky. I don't even know if CGC would grade them at that.
Well, there's things you can do to mitigate that. I know, because my basement smelled like an old musty gym bag for about 6 weeks as I worked through some of these books that I picked up.
Those were awesome.
We've been doing some interesting things, just anything from, you've heard of like humidification tanks before you press, right? You to soften up the fibers, relax the fibers. We were doing something similar, but with lots of like baking powder. Isn't that the thing you put in the refrigerator? Yeah. So we'd take lots of boxes of those and just put the books in that in like a tub with half dozen boxes of baking powder to try and absorb some of that. I can't remember if we tried charcoal or not. There's a lot of things out there in the world that absorb odor. A buddy of mine who also was working on some of these books went and bought a small ozone generator, and use that in a similar tote. He took a different approach, and we were just playing with stuff, but a lot of just like mildew smell when you get that kind of thing, you can remedy it. And the one thing I found is to just take them and do a light surface cleaning on them and just get that crap off, and then just give them space to air out. That's the big thing.
I just spray Febreze on mine.
There you go. Yeah.
I think that probably
a little Axe body spray helps as well. I've heard.
Yeah. Just rub a car freshener on it.
Why wouldn't you?
Well, quickly, shout out to My Comic Planet with the $5 super chat. I have collectible insurance to cover my comic collection. Do you guys have insurance? And do you know if this guy had insurance? I can start with that last part of the question. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think Ryan mentioned it, Drew.
I don't recall seeing any mention of that. No.
But dealer insurance, collector's insurance, do you guys have anything like that?
Kim from Collector's Insurance and I have been playing phone tag for a while now, so we're in contact, but I don't have anything bound just yet. But I am known as being heavily overinsured in general. So my insurance man loves us.
I have a house insurance that has a collectibles clause that I am able to get under, and it seems to be working. And then I have insurance through the document place that I'm at as well. So I feel comfortable with what I have right now.
I have a homeowner insurance that has like a little bit of a clause in that. So that's kind of what I have. I haven't gotten to the point where I feel like I need collectible insurance, but speaking of Ryan, Automatic Comics, I know that he has dealer's insurance. Obviously he's always sending books in the mail all the time. So yeah, if it's something that you can swing, definitely worth it. And probably something that you would need as we talk about this other one, because when this news came up, I thought to myself, oh man, like it feels like this is happening quite a lot. Like recently, just anecdotally speaking, felt like that was the case. And I even have it, I think, in the description or the title of the video, like, is it happening more? And I happened to just hop over to the CGC forum because I was thinking, hey, like, as I'm preparing this little show, I wonder if there's anything going on there. And sure enough, like one of the top general conversations was this one titled Comic Theft. And it was just another one by this guy, Blazing Bob, who is out in New York. And I'll just quickly read like what happened to him. But please save me why you are keeping comics in a storage unit. I'm really beyond upset right now. I had 26 magazine boxes of raw silver, bronze age, box of gold keys stolen from one of my storerooms. My last visit was on 2/1. Could have been any day up until 2 o'clock after, et cetera, et cetera. I do not have a list yet. I'm literally putting it together. If anyone is in the New York, New Jersey, or Connecticut area. But basically, he had his massive collection. I don't know if he's a dealer, but he had one of those public storage units. Like, we know what they are. And he had made mention that, he had all the locks on it. But I don't know if someone took a crowbar to it or something and pried open the side gate.
Yeah, or a jack or something probably.
Yeah, whatever it was. Got into the storage unit, took all his stuff. And unfortunately for this guy, I think all of his collection was raw. So the only kind of identifiable thing that he kind of pointed out was he's like, I price with these little yellow stickers in the upper left. And when I tape it angular like this. So it's a long shot, but if you're in the, metropolitan area, the New York, New Jersey area, and you happen to see some raw books like this up for sale, here he has a list. I put links to this as well, but it's just another one. Like, what do you do about this? This guy put it in a storage unit. I don't know if that's smart or dumb. It doesn't seem like necessarily a bad idea, to do something like that. It seems like there would be protection.
It's common. It's common.
Yeah, it's common.
I think the main thing you can do there is you just got to be really diligent about vetting where you go. You need to look at what kind of security they have there. Is it open to whoever during whatever hours of the day? Do you have to put in an access code to even get on site? Do they have cameras? Are the owners on site regularly? Is it mostly just kind of on autopilot existing? There's a lot of things you can look at when it comes to selecting a storage place like this, at least around here. Maybe not everywhere.
Same with here.
Yeah, is in a similar situation as us, but you know, you've just got to be mindful of, you know, go wherever you go, and then you've also got to be smart about while you're there. You know, don't leave the door up if you don't have to.
Right.
You know, just do everything you can to be as concealing with what you're doing at the storage unit, what you have in the storage unit, as you can be. And I'm sure people at the places where I've had storage units in the past think I'm some sort of like a paranoid crazy person, because I give everybody the crazy eye when they look towards my storage unit, you know, when I'm there or whatever.
I think you have bodies in there.
Yeah, it's like, nobody looking in here, you know, ain't nothing for you. But
it was funny. I knew a guy that had a storage locker. We used to go there and have beers and just look at comics, and it was a huge locker. Like, it was almost like a garage. And there has been, God, like 30 or 40,000 books in there. Like, it was crazy.
Wow.
And we just pull a box out and just talk comics. It was super fun. And his door was always open. And whenever we were in there, he had lights in there and music, and people would walk by and say hi. Yeah, I think he got broken into like 2 months later, like after being there. It took about 2 months. Yeah.
So that goes to that whole like kind of don't advertise sort of thing. You know, like you got your locker, you're in and you're out. You know, no hanging out, no letting people walk by and see what you have and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Another thing too, people will do Craigslist up here and sell books out of their storage locker. And I just look at that like, ooh, like that's a good way to have someone come back when you're not there.
Yeah, that seems pretty sketch. I mean, definitely inviting that.
Yeah.
But, you know, I feel bad. I mean, like this person, I kind of went through this post, and even, you know, as recently as like 4 hours ago, or, you know, he posted 4 hours ago that, you know, no updates for him, unfortunately, and whatever. And there's security camera footage there, but it feels like, I don't know what kind of, you know, liability the public storage units take on for these types of things.
From most of the contracts I've read around here, it's basically nothing. Like, they just say, you know, get insurance, we're not responsible, you know, whatever. So I don't think they have any liability, or if they do, they try and skirt it the best they can.
Yeah. Which I guess, you know, again, if you're at that level, you're dealing at that level, I think the only, I guess, dealer insurance or collector insurance is something you just have to have. I did see one question here that I thought was, Planet Arizona Comics had this. I mean, you kind of talked about this, true, a little bit, but what dollar amount do you recommend putting a book in? What's your, it depends, right?
Yeah, it's all relative.
Comfortable.
I mean, mine started out at $300, but you know, that was many years ago. But I mean, you know, it depends on what your collection is. If your, you know, most valuable books, a 9.8 New Mutants 98 or something, and that's something you're worried about having at home unsecured, then, you know, your answer's $450 or $500 or wherever that goes for. You know, if you've got a massive collection of high dollar golden age, then maybe anything that's over $5,000 you don't want to keep in the house. It's going to be different for everybody.
Yeah. It's crazy, man. I mean, like, there's really like no way to protect it. Like, there's really no way to protect yourself fully. It's like you said, Chris, at the start, you know, it's a numbers game. Eventually it's going to happen. Happens to all of us.
I think also too, if it does happen to you, I mean, don't make it the end of your life. Like, they are just comics. And like, I know people that their lives are just about fear of losing things they own all the time.
Right.
And like, we should have fun with this hobby. And this is a really good topic, and it is terrible when it happens, but it isn't the end of the world. So it is kind of the end of the world if you lose your entire collection, I guess.
Well, yeah, to that point. I mean, well, yeah, I mean,
it can be, I guess. Yeah.
It is one of those things where I haven't followed up with my stolen comics yet, because I don't really have anything too specific to share, but it's one of my silver linings or takeaways was that point right there where it's like, at the end of the day, yeah, it sucks, but you know, I'm not going to make it ruin my life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Then again, I don't have, you know, some people's collections. So, you know, I think there is a level. There is definitely a level to it.
Well, I wonder too, because I have a decent collection. It's nowhere near like one of the top collections, even in my city by any stretch. And I wonder, like, these guys who have these like $8 million, $10 million collections, like how they live with those collections. And like, I'd love to talk to someone at that level.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because the thing is like, I mean, I don't know. What is it about comics? Because there's a lot of expensive stuff in my house, you know, but like, what is it about? Like I could imagine putting my X-Men one in a safe or safety deposit box or do something like that. But then it's like, I don't know. I have some watches that are worth more than my X-Men one, but I wouldn't think to put my watches in the box. I don't know. I don't know what it is. Like something about comics that just feels so stealable, I guess.
Yeah.
Also, I'd rather lose a watch than a comic for some reason. I have some watches like that too, and I care more about like a comic worth having.
Yeah, totally.
It's ridiculous, but it's true.
I'm over here low rent. I've just got some baller ass comics. No fancy watches from.
And you do have some baller ass comics.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's what it is. Maybe it's like, you know, obviously it's the community we're in, the people who unironically care about their comics more than most other things in their life. So that's just emotionally, it probably just hurts so much more.
I got to ask though, like in your neighborhoods, like your local communities, you're probably part of them a little bit. I know I am. Nobody collects comics where I'm from, like where I'm at.
Really?
It's like, and I bring it up and people are like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like they just think it's so weird. Yeah.
I don't think I know anyone in my like neighborhood that is into comics or anything like that.
Yeah, I'm not aware of anybody either, but you know, we do that 21st century thing where we all just go to work and then come home and shut our garages and
ignore each other.
Maybe wave at each other from across the street, but that's about it.
Yeah.
We're not really into that. We're not a block party kind of neighborhood here.
Yeah,
we have a pretty good block. It's we know everyone. It's pretty good, but again, everyone's bankers and stuff and work at offices and stuff. So
right.
Yeah.
I just wish my neighbors were the kind of neighbors that had comic books that they inherited, and while they had their garage sales, they're just like, "Here, you want this box for $20?" Like,
oh man,
yes, I do.
That's what I want. I'm still waiting for that. Like,
I'll give you 40.
Everybody has their story of like look what I found at the flea market, guys, and it's like, I'm waiting for mine. All right, I need one of those.
Yeah,
that's why you got to get into sealed VHS tapes because you can still find that shit. It's been fun, man. Yeah, I enjoy it a lot.
I don't know if I'm ever going to go that route, but it is, you know, I can imagine catching, you know, when Chris is the richest VHS collector, we're all going to be, we're all going to be so upset.
I mean, he's posted a few things that I was like, the member berries were strong.
Oh yeah.
Was it like a sealed aliens you had a while back? It's like, oh, I want that.
Yeah, I got a few of those.
Yeah. It's like, that's nice.
The new one that I'm excited about is the sealed Poltergeist first print. Remember this?
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah,
1982.
I mean, I wasn't alive when it came out, but you know, I've
really
seen it 100 times.
I keep forgetting I'm a lot older than everyone.
It's all right.
Yeah,
there are worse problems to have.
Poltergeist feels like such a Chris movie.
Are we going to talk about this awesome flex photo?
Well, we could talk about this awesome flex photo, but I brought this up because I not very slickly wanted to transition to the next little topic, you know, that kind of came up. I thought this was interesting. So I don't know if you guys know Flipmo Comics. Shout out to them. Great comic dealers. Go check out their claim sales. They sell
a lot of videos.
But I bring up their post because this was a few weeks ago, and I thought this was interesting. And they had posted this Captain America Comics #1. And on their post, they asked, "Hey, need help? Any idea what a cover and 9 pages of this book would go for?" And you know, people were talking about this, and just, you know, saying, oh, cool. Like it seemed like someone was up for sale. And I can't find the Facebook post now, but I had seen that somebody was selling this on Facebook Marketplace. And shout out to actually Semperfi Comics. He called it out 3 weeks ago. Looks fake. We'll get to that later. And then Golden Age Guru, Jeff, puts out a video talking about fake CGC books. I don't know if you guys saw this one, but go check this out. He did a really good job talking about this. And then the homies, Pressable Defects, they did a live stream a few days back where they talked about these fake CGC books. And I was maybe going to make a video about it. I thought they did a really good job breaking it down, so I didn't really get into it. So I'll kind of just quickly cover the topic here while I have you guys. But it turns out that Captain America Comics 1 was in fact fake and was sold. And there was someone who has been doing fake comics inside CGC holders.
Was this in Spokane, Washington?
This is in Washington. Yeah.
Yeah. I heard about
And so while it isn't stolen comics, I thought that it would be a good time to talk about it a little bit again in relation to the stuff we were talking earlier, where it's like, you know, just crime in the collectible comic space and how a lot of this is popping up. And this one was pretty crazy because it looks really good. I don't know if you saw this, Chris or Drew. Like,
I absolutely saw it. And I have to say, I'm surprised this didn't happen 20 years ago. Like, I'm amazed this hasn't been happening the whole time we've been in this hobby.
Yeah, I feel like the values have just gotten to the point where it's across enough books that it's worth the effort to try and figure out how to stealthily crack a slab and manipulate it. Which, you know,
and from what I hear, they actually changed the number on it was attributed to a comic that looked exactly like it.
And that's the thing. They're doing the research and they're making fake labels that actually have good serial numbers that link up with the book. And grades. So they're doing their due diligence.
So as far as I understand it, they got a CGC case, delicately cracked it open so that they could reseal it. They made the fake CGC label, found a cert number that corresponded to whatever comic book. And then they made these counterfeit comic books that look really good.
Because they're blank paper on the inside, right? It's just like a really good photo cover.
Yeah, it's a good photo cover. It's a fake comic inside, or, you know, the pages or whatever. And they even went so far as to say, you know, there was this Incredible Hulk 1 that was a fake one. And I think that this picture is the fake one. So you can see, like, you know, they were able to get the flaws, like, you know, add some spine wear, add the stuff up here and make it look really good. So it's not just a facsimile. And then they put the case back together, delicately put it all back together. And then now they have this slab book. And if you go, you know, say it's like, oh, hey, I got this Hulk 1 CGC, whatever, 30. Here's the cert number. And if you were to look it up, you would see that cert number on the CGC census.
Yeah. And what I think I heard is they were making an incision at the bottom of the lower or the inner well. Yeah. And they were sliding the books in and out of the bottom, which was really the only tell you could really halfway see.
For sure. If anyone in the chat, go check out, I put a link to the Pressable Defects one that he did. Matt did an awesome job breaking it all down. And then Guru also did an awesome job breaking it down. But yeah, to your point, Drew, it's like small incisions on the plastic and just sealed back enough. And they even figured out a way to, like, you know how there's the, not just the CGC case, but inside it, like the book is like almost like in like a Mylar itself.
Yeah. The inner well.
Yeah. The inner well, they were able to make an incision in that as well, and then slide one in there. So
I have to say though, for the well, I mean, if you're working in the under $5,000 range, which some of these books are, that's one thing, and people I don't think will look as deeply. But if I'm buying a Hulk #1 with a $60,000 to $80,000 price tag, I mean, I'm looking through everything on that book. It's going to take me hours to like go over that book.
Well, now is the time where you can really have the best opportunity, best chance to get something like this across with the rise of online selling. You know, the buyer doesn't have the book in hand to do that level of inspection.
Yeah.
with a lot of the ways books are being sold today, which is concerning.
But I got to ask you, Drew, like you've probably sold a few high dollar books, like over $20,000. How do you do that deal? Because that's, I think a lot of people don't know. Like how do you transfer the money, blah, blah, blah.
I've never done anything that much really. 4-figure transactions are pretty much the highest I've dealt with at this point. Because books of that level that I've come across at this point, I pretty much just hold on to. That's the kind of stuff that I just like to sit on and use as trade fodder, so I can maybe eventually get a Turtles one.
For me, I've only bought one thing that's been in that ballpark, and it was very scary, and like it was a while ago, and I actually had to fly to it to do it, like to make the deal, and then do the money transfer in person and the whole bit. And it was, I was freaking out. That's why I'm always amazed that these guys are trying to, do $100,000 books like this. But then I'm also not, I'm not worth $20 million where $100,000 means nothing to me.
Exactly.
That might be another case.
It could also be because I think so this is the man behind the comics. He's the one that was reporting on these fake comics or whatever it was, including the Captain America. And I think in his post, like, he goes through the whole thing. I think he says that some of the people who bought some of these things are like dealers, like big dealers. So I would imagine, Chris, like to your point, like if you're just a dealer who it's like, this is just a Tuesday, you're just kind of going through these books, rotating. That's maybe who gets kind of fooled or not fooled, but like, you're like, yeah, cool. I'll just pay you PayPal, blah, blah, whatever. And you're just sort of expecting it's all.
Yeah, it's part of your day. It's that makes sense. Yeah.
I know. I mean, dealers at that level, they all know each other, they're all pretty tight. And just from conversations I've had, it's not uncommon for them to just mail a book. Like if, somebody's in the circle, they'll just be like, yeah, I'll send this out to you. Let me know what you think. And at that point in time, they'll wire the money or whatever if they want to keep it. But I know that's a practice that's somewhat common, as long as it's like dealer to dealer. But I think it's probably a lot more common than we realize that, people just hop on a plane to do things like that. I mean, I remember when, Newbie was trying to get his TOS 39, and there was one where, that whole thing, I'm like, dude, get on a plane. If you're that serious about it, go. Book a flight. Yeah.
That's something.
That's Newbie, though. He's never serious. I'm just kidding.
It's true.
I hope he's watching.
I think Newbie has overthought dollar bin comic purchases.
That's absolutely true.
You can never be.
He's like, I don't know. It's $1, guys. It's $1.
Man, I don't want to hold this for 2 months.
But it is crazy. And, I had made a video, maybe it was last week, where I was kind of teasing a little bit on CBCS and their post and talking about, their updated prices and stuff. And then this kind of came out, and it did kind of make me think like, maybe CBCS, like, a lot of people talk about their cases, like they're not, as far as I understand, maybe they're not as easy to crack open. Like, is this their sort of positioning statement, Drew? Like, could CBCS say like, hey, all this, tomfoolery going on in CGC labels, our label, like you will never be able to scam anyone with a CBCS case because it, whatever, can't break it.
I think it's an opportunity for them if that is in fact true. But first off, they've got to have some sort of evidence that is the case.
Yeah.
But, I'm going to talk about this tomorrow when I go live on my channel, but it's like they've lost a lot of the edge they had, it's like, just spoiler alert, I don't think I'm a CBCS guy anymore. I think I'm going to have to go back to CGC. And I know you've talked about it and we've talked about it offline and stuff, but those two Hulk ones just kind of ruined it for me. Now, obviously.
So I didn't hear the Hulk 1 story.
Oh, it was a heritage auction. What was that? Last month, February sometime?
Yeah. Or January.
January. Okay.
Yeah.
So January feature auction, and there were 2 Hulk ones in the auction. A CBCS, I think 7.5 and a CGC 7.0. The CBCS book was the first lot. Well, it wasn't the first, but what came up first, and the CGC 7.0, half a grade lower, came up right after it. The CGC book, a half a grade lower, selling after the higher grade book, sold for more than the CBCS 7.5. So it was a half grade lower, and sold after the fact, and outsold it by like $5,000 or something. Wow. So it's not like it was just a couple bucks. It was,
and both of them had white pages, and like, you know, there was nothing that was like, oh, well, this has a blatant flaw that looks that takes the eye appeal away. It was like nothing.
I got to throw out the table. I think CBCS has a better case, but like, I love that new case. I really think.
Oh yeah, it's that fantastic.
Label, how they have they continue to get away with that damn label of theirs, and every time they upgrade it, it's even worse. It's insane. And they're doing VHS now, and they're even worse. It's just horrific. Oh, it's just amazing to me. It's like they're going out of their way to fail.
It's so crazy. It's like, it's so true. It's like, how long has it been where it's like
20 years?
I feel like everybody hates I don't know. Is there I don't know if everyone, like, no one in that building knows, you know, like maybe no one is willing to tell them, hey, your label's terrible.
I think personally, there's somebody there that thinks that that's the brand, and they don't want to step away from the brand. It's like getting rid of the McDonald's arches before they got rid of the McDonald's arches, you know. It was probably a bit of a war.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's stupid.
Well, I know, like, just from conversations I've had with Steve Borick, like, his whole thing was he didn't want to take away from the book. He always wanted it to be about the book, not the label. But, you know, hell, we're coming up on a year where Steve's been gone, so clearly he wasn't the only standard bearer for that.
Yeah.
I
respect that stance, but I think and look, what do I know? But like, my feeling is, it's like, yeah, but people care about the label because they care about the number, you know?
Yeah.
Like, everyone, when you look at this Hulk book, I'm sorry, where's the first place your eye go? It goes to the 6.5. Like, when you first look at any book in a case, like, it just does. You know?
Now, to me, looking at that picture, that label looks off.
So this is the fake book. Yeah. So, but it's, you can see, like, you know, a quick glance, it seems like it's fine. But when you start to really, dig in it, you're like, it's like the uncanny valley effect of it, where it's like, what is something's like weird about it.
The 6.5 looks really bright. I don't know why. It just, to me, it's
that book often has kind of like a gray tone feel to it because the colors just dull out so easily on it. It's in the copies I've seen, it seems like. But I mean, and another thing I think that really skews towards the benefit of the counterfeiter here, because I mean, that's essentially what they are. They're counterfeit comics, which I think the chat mentioned earlier, that it's nothing new. You know, there are counterfeit Cerebus ones, there are counterfeit TMNT ones. So it's something that's existed in the hobby for a while. But I mean, we've all bought books of, you know, within our realm of perspective, were big books, you know, the books where you walk in and you've got an uncomfortable amount of money in your pocket that you're going to let go of to get this book.
Yeah.
What were you thinking about when you did that? I mean, I know I was shitting kittens when I bought my AF-15.
Oh yeah.
I mean, your mind's going you know, all over the place. Your heart's racing. It's easy to let the adrenaline dull your senses and miss things that in retrospect you're like, oh, how did I miss that?
You should always bring someone with you in that situation. Always. That's
actually smart. That's like a nice piece of advice. Just someone to talk to, you know, before you decide to do anything. Which,
because I'm the same way. I get that, like, that energy in me, and I'm like, I feel almost stoned from the adrenaline.
Yeah, you feel some butterflies in you all of a sudden. It's a little hot.
I'm gonna kiss the first girl or something.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you guys. I mean, I've bought a lot of comics. I've been with a lot of people when they bought comics, and having a wingman is really important because that person can really kind of act as a buffer between you and the seller. And especially, you know, when you're at conventions and you're dealing with pro sellers and stuff like that, being able to come at them from a couple different angles and to just kind of bounce them around between the two of you and kind of him and haw, and you can kind of work the good cop bad cop angle in there, and you can get better deals doing that. And it also, if you have somebody with you, they can keep you from just riding the adrenaline and just taking the first offer. It's like, no, check your head, like stay in this, you know, we're doing the dance.
You know what's nice about the industry right now? It's kind of like, we can all agree the prices have dropped significantly on a lot of things.
Oh yeah.
And I don't feel that, like if I see something really cool, I don't feel like I gotta fucking buy this right now, or I'll never see this again, or it's gonna be 4 times the price next month. I love that.
It's great. You're right. It's like the urgency, the sense of urgency to have to pull the trigger right then and there is definitely gone. And then it's nice because that can really be an indication where it's like, you know, it's like if you start to see a book again and again and again, and you still feel like, yeah, I still do want to buy it, then now you know that it's a book you actually want. But like, you know, there are some days where I'm just like, yeah, I kind of want to whatever. And then the next
Dark Hawk 1.
Yeah, a Dark Hawk 1.
9.9.
I always wanted Dark Hawk 1. Hey, I'm surprised. Why is there no Dark Hawk 9.9s on the census? You would think that there would be one.
You should be the guy that does it.
They just rode too hard in the dollar bins for all those years.
No,
probably the case.
Come on.
They certainly were in there.
There's got to be one. There's got to be one. I feel like every 90s book has at least 199. Maybe it hasn't been done yet.
There's probably a warehouse find just waiting out there, you know, new old stock Dark Hawk 1 ship cases just sitting there.
I don't understand, like, how does CGC just one day just feel like, yeah, this new Mutants 92 is I can't remember the number. The first Deadpool. This first Deadpool is 98. Yeah, 98. This is
I feel like there's like an alarm that goes off every 62 days, like 99 day.
Yeah, 99 day. Yeah. Like what made this one a 9?
They also call that acetate cover day.
Yeah. Well, speaking of CGC, I thought Dan had a good question here. Like, has CGC addressed this, and do you guys feel like they should, or is this do they bear any responsibility in this type of thing?
I don't know that I've seen anything from them.
I don't think they have either. Yeah.
I just happen to have their website up.
I don't think they bear any responsibility whatsoever, personally. But I think this is a good opportunity for them to maybe figure out something a little more. But you mentioned that before, Drew. So
yeah, and honestly, I think they don't bear any responsibility for the fakes, but their position in the market exists and is reliant upon the faith of the consumer. And this is, I mean, they've had some shit things they've been entangled with in 2022. I mean, everybody knows that. It's been talked to death. But this is the first open challenge to the reliability of their product.
Right.
Like at this point, every CGC comic, every CGC slab is suspect. And it's nothing of their own doing, but that's got to be in the back of everybody's mind at this point. And that's cancerous. You know, it will erode at just the general public's perception of what they do until it's addressed somehow, some way.
It sucks the guarantee out of CGC. You know, it's like if they can't, you know, identify that, it's like, yeah, when we put a cert number on it, this is our cert number.
I mean, you can get a pretty good look at a T-bone by sticking your head up a cow's ass, but I'd rather take the butcher's word for it. But you know,
I need some lines. Just send me all your lines so I can use them.
I mean, I stole that from Tommy Boy, if anybody didn't know, but but it's just, that's the thing. I mean, so much of the unrelenting support for CGC in the market since every other third-party grader has come out is that, you know, we know they're selling us a guaranteed piece of shit in that box.
Kind of like this label.
Oh God,
Yeah,
I
I
was
was gonna
hoping
say,
we were going to talk
well,
about
I was
that.
gonna let you finish, and then I was gonna transition into does
Yeah.
CGC bear any responsibility for this label right here?
Yeah,
Jesus
now that they're
Christ.
fully responsible for, but I don't know if it's like some sort of a tamper evident foil seal or something, but I think
Still
they're gonna,
better than CIB or CBCS.
It is still better
uh,
than CBCS,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Sorry to judge.
no, it's God, it's horrid.
If
I
you
mean,
for context, if people in the chat, if they don't know, this came out today, right, or yesterday?
Yeah.
today I think, yeah.
CGC is doing this label. There's a documentary film being made about a collection that was found. I guess they're making it a pedigree collection now. The documentary is called "Selling Superman" right here, and in that collection, this was one of the books, Batman #1, and yeah, this is the label, a tie-in to this documentary that CGC at least is involved with in terms of on-air talent. You know, I think Matt Nelson is interviewed in it, and there's some conversations and stuff. And
Is that the Larson?
What's that?
That's not the. That's
No.
not the. What is that L there?
Just an L.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
I don't know, but
Okay.
I mean, like, shout out to the documentary. That's cool. They're making it, and it seems like a really cool story, but kind of weird.
I
So
mean,
like,
Yeah.
Swag, this is more your world, but I think I would have swung more of the production budget for label design.
yeah.
Then
What I think is actually kind of weird about it is that it's the film's branding on it. Like, it's one thing if you say, hey, we're going to make this a pedigree collection, and then cool, go ahead and put, I don't remember what the name of the pedigree is, but like, go ahead and put the Como pedigree on the label. That's fine. But it's weird to brand the label to the film. That seems like
That is bizarre.
now is it an actual pedigree? I thought some of these were like bought
It's a
secondhand.
collection. It's considered a collection.
It's a collection, but
Yeah.
I think, oh, okay. Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah. The Fantastic Collection is what they're calling it.
Can
I
I,
guess there's
also
like
say that book's gorgeous?
Oh yeah,
Oh,
it's beautiful, and there's like a 6.5 Tech 27.
Really?
Yeah, if I remember right from reading the list that kind of went up with these. But for me, and I think anyone with functioning eyeballs, as soon as you buy this book, you immediately submit it for a reholder and ditch that crap label.
Totally. Yeah.
I mean,
it's so bad I'd break it off. Yeah, it's terrible.
you're not wrong. I mean, like, all it takes is one buyer at that value of book who's like, I don't want that label.
Yeah,
And all of a sudden, like, yeah, it sells for less. Right?
Exactly. I think at this point, all those books, unless there's somebody who's just really got a something for this particular collection, I think all those books underperform because the label is a detractor at this point. Like, I would much rather have a standard universal label, or hell, I don't like the custom labels in general, but hell, just one of the regular custom labels would be a lot better than whatever that is.
Yeah. You know, no disrespect to the film. I would love to watch it, but yeah, again, it's just a weird thing. Like, a movie as a product, you know, like,
were you guys collecting when the Nick Cage collection came out and everyone shit their panties over it? Like, they were so upset that they gave him a collection pedigree type thing.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, I don't think he's actually a pedigree. I think it just came up that when those books were found, because originally they were stolen, right? And they were found in a locker or something.
But he sold like a big batch that weren't like, because he sold them because a bunch were stolen. So
yeah, like his action and his tech.
And so there's a bunch of slabs out there that have the Nick Cage collection on them. And from I'm guessing like 2006-ish, 2004. Okay. I don't remember. But everyone lost their mind that it was such a bullshit thing, that why would they give him this thing? And you know, this is art, you know. But,
well, I've seen that with other things. Was it Jerry Garcia's collection of EC stuff that was sold? I can't remember.
Oh, yeah.
You know, there's been several times where they'll note it if it's from a well-known
I think it's cool
personality or whatever.
Well, I think that's cool too. I think the difference in this label is like, you know, they didn't put Nick Cage's face on like a designed.
They should have, damn
you know, thing, right? Like, I'd have no problem saying this is like the Fantastic selling Superman copy on the label.
Yeah.
But
I think
that label is terrible. It's so bad, man.
It's just too busy. You know, I mean, if they would have picked one element and stuck with it, I think they'd have been fine. But this looks like the graphics department barfed on a CGC label.
Well,
but it looks like you drew it on your binder in high school, you know, or
on your CGC, like, you know, this could just be the graphic of the film. You know, they just took the film production graphic and just slapped it on.
But in fairness to CGC, they could have said, "Guys, this looks like crap. Come up with something better."
They weren't going to do that.
Product.
Like typeset.
They want this. They're prime clients at this point.
Yo, I bet you they're spending some bucks getting those books graded.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, right.
Quality.
Like,
I mean that's a big time book right there.
Do you think that they probably just worked a deal? Like, because obviously,
they have to.
They're going to heritage auction all this stuff. So it's like, hey, we're not going to pay you now for the.
Well, and even Heritage may have paid for it. To have to go through,
right.
Yeah, from what I understand, there's a lot of like options for this kind of stuff. It's like we can give you advances. You know, it's just it's all. There's a lot of stuff you can negotiate in. With this level of stuff.
When do these books go on sale? Like, there's a coming up pedigree, I think, sale this month almost, I think.
Oh, really? I honestly don't know.
Let me see that.
I would have to sell human beings to get this book. I go near this book.
March 30th, it looks like.
Yeah.
That's soon. Wow.
Yeah. Platinum Session.
So yeah, here it talks about some of the other books. You got a piece of crap Superman 1 and a CGC 7.0.
Yeah.
Now,
here it is. Here it is. Oh, Mike, can you imagine with this label at the 8.0 and then the 7.0 selling after? What if the 7.0 went for more?
I'd pay more for the 7.0. Yeah. All day, every day.
Could you take a look at the detective?
Yeah.
Look at that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's the book.
Let's see. There's an 8.0 ASM1. Surprisingly, the Hulk one. Oh, the Hulk one's a 7.5. I was trying to make that an 181 in my brain.
Robert Cresto was a famous dealer, wasn't he? Isn't that who that is?
I don't know. Holy crap! Is that a 7.0 Marvel Comics one?
Yeah, it was. Wait, yeah.
7.5.
This one last time one of these big ones went on sale, it didn't do too well.
That's a shame.
This one gets hot and then it disappears.
Yeah.
It's really
I mean, when
weird.
you think about it, it is like
that is
what are you owning here? Like when people think of like spending this money, it's like first, Hammond's Human Torch. I mean, badass.
Well, awesome. And look at how terrible the offset is on that. Like when they printed that particular copy, the plates were completely jacked up.
What print is it?
Right. Is it October or November?
It's November. So
yeah, November.
Do you guys think what are your guys' guesses? Do you think that this auction's going to blow it out of the water? Or you think times are tough and we're going to see
I don't think they're that tough for guys who could afford books like this.
Yeah. The people who are players at this level are fairly recession proof.
For sure.
Yeah, we're talking generational stuff. Ooh, Batman 1.
Nice little entry level copy into a Batman 1.
3 Bat ones up in here.
Yeah.
Jesus, that's crazy.
And that's the second Archie one in here. That's a rare bird. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So Ryan's going after all these, right?
Yeah, he's gonna buy.
I'm sure he's leading bid on a couple of these already.
I'm sure you're right.
Yeah.
Ooh, Crypto Tear 17 and a 9.0.
Wow.
Ooh.
In a 9.0.
Oh, Northford. It's pedigree copied.
Yeah.
Now Tech 29 is my absolute favorite early.
Oh yeah, this one is so badass right here.
Yeah, that's just great. And it doesn't come up all that often.
No,
not in that shape either. Oof.
No, it's conserved, but still.
Who cares at that? I actually like the conserved label.
I do too.
Yeah, it doesn't look bad with the little silver line.
And it doesn't take as much value off as obviously as the shitty purple one.
Yeah.
They have to rethink that purple label, in my opinion.
Well, I've made this argument before, and we're just inching closer and closer to it. Just as a hobby, we're going to have to get accustomed to the concept of conservation and or restoration, or these things are just going to crumble.
Absolutely.
You know, they're already closing in on 100 years old in some instances. Some of the platinum stuff's over 100. Yeah, 9650 below it too.
This makes me excited.
God, that almost looks fake.
Dude, CPR. Oh no. Right there.
There's look at that.
A couple of them.
There's a couple older collectors in my town that have this
off-white pages. Throw it in the trash.
Oh, POS.
Yeah,
I don't like that.
Worthless.
Not for me.
Yeah, definitely some pretty books. You know, I'm sure we'll cover this. You know, when we get there, we'll maybe we can have some more live streams and discussions. Another 9.8. Probably gonna.
Is that a 102 9.8 as well? That's a book I love. This is a very underrated book.
Oh, so underrated. Yeah,
that cover is incredible.
Yeah.
What are we talking about? I spaced out.
Hulk 102.
Just
underrated. I love this cover.
It's kind of underrated. Yeah.
Of all the big premiere issues, like it and Captain Marvel are the ones that just kind of get poo-pooed on.
Well, and if this had number 1 on that, which it should say Hulk 1, it'd be worth 5 times more.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely underappreciated because it's like, you know, I know a lot of people like to go for the Hulk 1 through 6, but it feels like this is, you know, one of the best sort of early Hulk books you can get your hands
Hulk
on.
1 through 6 are my favorite comics in the world.
Yeah. There's definitely that run. There's something nice about that run because it is so contained, being only 6 issues. So there's a lot of people that just like the idea of having them all.
And oddly, Amazing Fantasy 1 through 14, I love those book covers. Every single one of them. They're just gorgeous.
I need to get my AF-15 out of the bank and do the flex post of, you know, Amazing Adventures 1 through AF-15. Just be like,
put your address on it too.
Oh yeah.
Here will be another case study right here. You got a TOS 3970, and then you got a CGC TOS 3970.
White.
I love that everyone calls it a TOS 39.
CBCS has white pages. CGC has off-white. So we'll see what happens here.
What's our quote situation?
Quote situation. Oh,
we got a half quote.
Quarter quote. So not even worth even looking at.
That is an incredibly sharp-looking 7.0.
And then, same quarter quote.
All right. Okay.
What's the table look like? No table.
No table. No space. Yep. No blue.
Huh.
And then this one doesn't have it either. No blue.
So they're nearly identical.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. A lot of big books. The funny thing about these auctions is that I'm not a player in any of them.
Yeah, we just get to live vicariously.
Yeah, just window shop. Just look from afar and
that 9.6 ASM3 is stupid.
Yeah.
Most of my big books I've ever gotten have been pure dumb luck. I'd never buy from this kind of thing either.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you ever buy from Heritage, like the weekly auctions and stuff?
I have a few times, but not much.
Yeah. It seems like the weekly auctions, you know, because you're gonna have less eyeballs on it. So
honestly, you want to buy cheap books, just go to eBay and watch auctions.
Yeah, the auctions on eBay are absolutely getting destroyed.
I saw somebody put a video out about that today. I didn't get a chance to watch it, but
yeah, I would not. If I had a book over whatever 4 figures, I would not 7-day let it rip on eBay.
No.
I mean, unless you bought it in a collection and you just literally wanted to sell.
Yeah.
I apologize because I have to run here. So
yeah, no worries.
But thanks for having me.
I appreciate it. Soon. But yeah, Chris, thanks again for hopping on the channel.
Absolutely. It's always a pleasure, Drew.
Yeah, man. It's been a bit. Good to see you.
Go check out Chris's YouTube. Link in the description. Chris,
I promise I will do videos eventually.
What do you got going on? What's do? Give us some insider secrets.
I've been really into VHS stuff lately, you know.
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And I have bought a few books recently, but not a lot. But I'm starting to get the sparkle again. I'm flying home to my home province in Canada, and I have a bunch of comic nerd friends there. And we're gonna hit some shops up, and I'm looking at a couple collections as well. So I might have some neat stuff when I get back.
Yeah. Well,
So
yeah, definitely look.
So watch my IG, Vancouver Comic Junkie. You'll see.
All right. Well, good to see you. Check out his channel. Go to his IG.
Hey.
Bye, guys. See you soon.
See you, man.
Well,
and then there were two.
We've been doing it pretty well so far. We might wrap it up soon. We'll see if there's any people in the chat that got some questions or talk and stuff. Maybe just really quick, in case other people have been joining us late, and just kind of recapping some of the things. The whole idea for streaming was to just sort of highlight this post that Ryan had put up, Automatic Comics, about someone who had bought from him, got all his comics stolen. So, just trying to do our thing, talk a little bit about how you could prevent this and getting a little bit of the word out. So I put a link to the post in the description, guys. If you happen to be in the Atlanta area, the Georgia area, or you are perusing any online sale stuff and you happen to come across Superman 3, which probably isn't going to be too common, or any of these books right here, again, I put the post in the description. Maybe you can DM Ryan if you happen to see any of this stuff, because that definitely sucks that this guy had his entire collection stolen.
Yeah.
On top of that, last little thing, another one, Blazing Bob in the New York area. He had his stuff stolen as well. So both their stories are in the description.
Yeah. And there are a couple of those books that have some distinguishing marks. So like the Avengers one, the A is traced in and stuff. So there are definitely some things you can key in on there. And, maybe you want to talk about just some best practices if, you get the call that somebody has something for sale that might be a little too good to be true.
Yeah. I mean, even just right there, if it's too good to be true, probably is. It probably is.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know what everybody's laws are like, but generally being in possession of stolen property is bad. So you want to make sure anytime somebody's trying to sell you something, just ask questions, find out what the backstory is, and if something seems fishy, it's better to walk away without spending your money and then having to surrender what you bought and losing out on your money. It's better to just walk away with nothing than to lose twice like that.
Yeah, 100%, because you would be liable for it. It's a tough situation. I mean, we're going into tough times, and it feels like these stories are popping up. And as we started the show talking about it, like, it's just, they're going to happen. So it could happen to you. It's one of those things where it's like, I never thought I was going to have a thing happen to me, but sure enough, it did. So it can happen to anybody. So it's definitely any sort of measures you can take, at the very least, at least have, if you got some expensive books, at least have the pictures of them, have the cert numbers written down. So at least if they do get stolen, you can, even if it is a little bit of a Hail Mary, you can start there and just get the word out, which is, what we're doing here. And then keep the low profile, if you don't want people knowing your address. So some of the other tips that were thrown out, if you're sending a lot of stuff, people talk about I know Ryan uses a PO box, that's a good tip for sure. If you have a lot of inventory at your house, that is valuable. And just kind of not advertising. I mean, I don't know, Drew, if you got any other final little tips.
Discretion is key. I think we've talked about that in a couple of different forms, but even if you do have your stuff out on display, make sure it's not in the living room or someplace where somebody can just look right in a window and see everything very easily. I mean, another consideration is that one of the worst things in the world for comic books is UV light exposure. So, keep them in a dark place that's discreet. People always I'll get the comment every now and again where people, because if you guys don't know, my window's here, you probably can tell in some of my videos where it's on it, but outside of the 10 to 15 minutes of recording, this thing is blind shut. Yep.
Blackout. I work in darkness essentially.
Man, growing up, my room was in the basement, so I'm used to living in a cave, so I can respect that.
Yeah.
I guess the last thing I would say is, like, as far as the bulk of your collection, yeah, you might have your things out that, you want to look at or whatever. If you can keep everything in a secured room inside of a secured building, it's just an additional layer of security. So, if your home is broken into, a lot of times thieves are going to look for what they can get easily and quickly. So just the more layers of complication you can put between somebody with ill intent and your most precious comic books, probably the better off that bad situation will work out for you.
Yeah. A couple questions here. Just shout out to Altman. Good to see you, man. He's got one for you. I joined late, but curious if your guests think of the NFT Marvel and DC comics on VV. Have you got any opinions on those yet, Drew?
Just the same ones I've always had. The NFT thing just missed me. I don't know. I'm not really overly educated on it, but I never got interested enough to really want to be.
Your AF-15 in the bank effectively is like an NFT for you at this point.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like I saw guys buying NFTs of like Web of Spider-Man 118. It's like I've got 3 copies of it. I'd rather just have the actual book, That's
I was joking on you because you have to keep it in your bank, so you can't hold it. So
well, I mean,
you can just look at the picture of it on your phone.
Yeah, that's why I have my background.
Yeah,
that's my actual copy of the NFT. So every time I get a notification, I get to see my wonderful copy of AF-15.
Yeah. Nowhere Bounce got one. You got any favorite search terms for deals on eBay? You got any tricks?
Man, eBay sucks now compared to what it used to be. I used to love back when we had the ages that you could search by, or it was like a filterable category or whatever.
Yeah.
Just go to Golden Age and Ending Soonest and just sit there and ride the wave and see what was closing. But no, I don't really have any magic bullets for eBay right now. I think the main thing is to just try and filter through as much of the stupid buy it now price stuff and just focus on the auctions and see what you can get. But even then, like, sniping is still a problem. I don't know why at this point eBay still hasn't changed their algorithm to where every bid in the last 2 minutes adds another minute on or whatever. It's like, just think of all the money they've cost themselves over the years by having just sudden death auctions like that.
It's definitely interesting of like why they decided to do that system. But I mean, they're so deep in it now that it's like, obviously, if it ain't broken, you're gonna fix it. So
exactly.
But to your point, I mean, I don't find myself doing this all the time, but every once in a while when it dawns on me, I will do the like search by Golden Age or search by Silver Age, see what's like ending soonest. Like, so I'll just type Marvel Comics Silver Age ending soonest, and then see if there's any goodies out there that are like might fly under the radar, or like end at like 2 a.m. in the morning, or like
Sundays
like
and holidays and stuff like that.
So those are always good, and for sure, like I find that what it really is on eBay too is it's like you're not necessarily going to find like an ASM 1 that goes under too much under an FMV, but if it's like a random ASM key that like like I don't know, like nobody's looking for first Crimson Dynamo right now. Like if there's like a Crimson Dynamo auction, guarantee that's going to go for cheap. So like it's those types of books. I think that like you can just kill it right now with those.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's just a general tip when you're looking to buy stuff. If you're looking at the things that were hot 6 months ago, 9 months ago, I think that is always a good time to look for books and get yesterday's news, as long as it's something that obviously wasn't just a flash in the pan, but Silver Age first appearance is something that has a bit of history under it and a little bit of staying power, but has come down quite a bit. Like Tales of Suspense 50 is a book I always like to look at, that just there's no middle ground with that book. It's either hot or it's super cold.
For sure. I love that book.
Me too.
It's become a meme book now. Nobody cares about it anymore. But like I for sure am going to upgrade a copy at some point later this year.
I have 4 copies right now.
Well,
I love that book.
I need to go to Planet. What is it called?
Planet Comic-Con, Kansas City.
Yes. When is that?
I will be snug in my bed at the hotel this time next week. It starts next Friday. It goes through Sunday.
Nice. And it's in the Kansas area.
Yeah, it is in the Kansas City Convention Center, which is also known as Bartle Hall. So anytime you see something that's like trying to represent Kansas City, there's always these like 4 pillars basically, and they got some weird shit on the top. And if you don't know, those are actually the support columns for Bartle Hall. So it's actually kind of a iconic city landmark or whatever, but it's one of those cool buildings where they like run the interstate underneath it. So as you're standing on the convention floor, if it were to all fall out, you wind up in the interstates. And if you don't get crushed by concrete, you can get hit by car or something. So
yeah, well, hopefully not.
Yeah, that's worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Hopefully you just come and buy some comics and have a good time. But if doomsday were to strike,
well,
that's a possibility.
What I would say, anyone in the chat, next weekend, if you're in the Kansas City area, go buy some TOS 50s from Drew.
There you go. Yeah, I'm at booth 1311. Right next to me, the other half of the end cap is my buddy Tom from MSG Comics. I think his booth's 1410, but we set up together several years now, and we were in the same spot last year. And we're actually the first full comic vendors you'll come to as you come up the escalators and make a loop into the aisle. You'll pass the information booth, some sort of mystery box toy crap, and then a guy that does mostly toys but some comics, and then us.
Yeah, well, definitely go check it out. I'll also shout out I'm not going to say your name. I'm going to screw it up and I'm going to get canceled. Also swag Nearman Sunday this Sunday. Yeah, Nearman Sunday this Sunday. Unfortunately, I can't make it, but if you're in the SoCal area, you got to go to Nearman Sunday. It's a great show.
You're on the press tour for this new Kickstarter, right?
Oh, it's funny you mentioned that.
Oh, weird.
Because before we wrap up the show, of course, I got to say, hey, my Kickstarter's live. I wrote a comic.
Yeah.
Little Lovecraftian pulp adventure. Just went live. Hit our goal in 24 hours. Pretty exciting. I'm pretty excited about that. Very, 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 very happy. So yeah, if you guys feel like checking it out, outside of my YouTube persona, I work in entertainment and I do screenwriting, and I wanted to write a comic book, so I decided to do that. So if you guys want to go over to the link in the description, the Kickstarter, it's a cool throwback to kind of like that Golden Age style detective story. It's for issue number 1. I think it's pretty good. I'm really, really proud of it. And, if you want to give it a chance, back the project. Got 28 days to go. I'm sure I'm going to be obnoxious about it as I talk about it for the next 28 days. So I apologize to you guys in advance. But hey, when you got a book, you got to pump it up and you got to influence it, and you got to pump it.
You got to shoot your own horn every once in a while.
Yeah. What do you want from me, guys? What do you want from me? I mean, pump my own book. Okay. If I make a video that's like top book to invest in this week, and mine makes the list, I'm going to be 100% serious about it.
This week's top 10 is all variants of SANITY, Rise of the Occult.
SANITY number 1.
Yeah.
Literally going to be worth $1 million.
There are only 5 covers, but somehow they're all on the top 10 twice.
Trust. Look, take it from a guy who is investing heavily in Darkhawk right now. I know what I'm talking about. Okay. It's going to the moon.
Hell yeah. I got stacks of it just waiting to retire, picking out my island already.
Yeah. Well, I think with that, we can end our show. Once again, guys, a lot of unfortunate crimes happening in comics. Go make sure you're safe. You protect your books. Anything can happen. If you can offer assistance to anyone who has had those things happen to them, definitely encourage that. Even if it's just sharing a stolen comics post every now and again, I think that's actually helpful on social media. So pay it forward. Drew, final thoughts?
Yes, No, just, congrats on the book getting funded. I know we've been chatting about that offline and stuff, but I think that's awesome and appreciate the invite and always happy to come hang out and, talk with my voice and not my fingers in the middle of the night, because, we'd be having this conversation on Instagram, if not here.
Yeah, 100%. All right, guys. Well, thanks again, everyone in the chat, for hanging out tonight. We'll see you all in the next stream. Later.
See ya.